Have you ever been in a conversation where it felt like the other person was literally reading your mind? Where you would start a sentence and they would finish it, not because they were being rude, but because their brain was genuinely synchronized with yours. That experience is not some mystical phenomenon. It is a real, measurable neurological event, and scientists have a name for it. They call it neural coupling. And what the research reveals about how it works might completely change the way you think about intelligence, communication, and why some people just seem to click while others never will. Think about the last conversation that left you feeling deeply understood. The one where you didn't have to explain every thought, where the other person somehow already knew where you were going. You probably walked away thinking that person just gets me. But what was actually happening was something far more specific and far more powerful than just getting along. Let me start with something that sounds almost too strange to be true. When two people are engaged in deep, meaningful conversation, their brains begin to mirror each other. Not metaphorically, literally. Neurons in one person's brain start firing in patterns that are nearly identical to the neurons in the other person's brain. Researchers at Princeton University discovered this using functional MRI scans. They had one person tell a story while being scanned, and then they had a listener hear that same story while also being scanned. What they found was remarkable. The listener's brain activity didn't just respond to the speaker's words. It actually started to predict where the speaker was going. The listener's neural patterns would sometimes fire before the speaker even said the next part of the story. Their brains were literally getting ahead of the conversation. Now here is where it gets really interesting. The degree of neural coupling between two people directly correlated with how well the listener understood the speaker. When coupling was high, comprehension was high. When coupling was weak or absent, the listener walked away confused, disengaged, or having completely misinterpreted the message. This means that understanding is not just about the words you choose. It is about whether your brain can entrain with someone else's brain at a fundamental level. So what does this have to do with intelligence? Everything. People with higher cognitive ability tend to build more complex internal models of the world. They have richer networks of associations, deeper pattern recognition, and more nuanced mental frameworks. When two people who both have these complex internal models start talking, something extraordinary happens. Their neural coupling becomes significantly stronger and faster. They can leap from idea to idea without needing every step spelled out because both brains are already running similar simulations. They are essentially compressing massive amounts of information into short exchanges because their mental architectures are compatible. Think about the best conversation you have ever had. The one where time disappeared, where ideas were bouncing back and forth effortlessly, where you left feeling energized instead of drained. That was neural coupling at its peak. Your brain found a partner that it could synchronize with. And the result was not just enjoyable, it was neurochemically rewarding. Your brain released dopamine during that exchange because it detected a high-fidelity connection. Now, I want to pause here because this is where most people check out. They hear dopamine and brain synchronization and think, "Okay, cool science fact. But what does this actually mean for my life?" But here's where most people get stuck. And this is something that not enough people talk about. Neural coupling also explains why intelligent people often feel profoundly isolated. If your brain builds unusually complex models and most of the people around you are operating with simpler frameworks, coupling becomes extremely difficult. It is not arrogance, it is neurology. The speaker sends out a complex signal, and the listener's brain simply cannot lock onto it. The synchronization fails. The conversation feels stilted, shallow, or exhausting. Over time, this creates a pattern where highly intelligent individuals start avoiding deep conversation altogether, not because they do not want connection, but because the neurological mismatch makes genuine connection rare. This is also why you will notice that when smart people do find each other, they tend to bond intensely and quickly. The relief of finally experiencing strong neural coupling after long periods without it creates an almost addictive response. The brain notices the difference immediately. It is like switching from a fuzzy radio signal to crystal clear high definition. Everything becomes sharper, faster, more alive. Now let me give you something practical, because understanding this science is only useful if you can apply it. The first thing to understand is that neural coupling is not fixed. You can actually increase the coupling strength between yourself and another person by doing specific things during conversation. One of the most powerful techniques is what researchers call shared intentionality. This means you are not just exchanging words. You are actively working together toward a mutual understanding. You ask questions that show you are building on the other person's ideas rather than waiting for your turn to talk. You paraphrase, not to be condescending, but to confirm that your internal model matches theirs. When both people do this, coupling accelerates dramatically. The second technique is vulnerability signaling. Neural coupling strengthens when the brain detects authenticity. When someone is performing or being guarded, the listener's brain actually decouples. It starts running skepticism algorithms instead of synchronization algorithms. But when a speaker shows genuine vulnerability, the listener's mirror neuron system activates more powerfully, and coupling deepens. This is why the most meaningful conversations in your life probably involve someone being truly honest, not someone being impressive. The third factor is novelty. The brain couples more strongly with information that is unexpected but still comprehensible. If someone tells you something you already know, coupling is weak because there is nothing new to synchronize around. If someone tells you something completely incomprehensible, coupling fails because the brain cannot find the pattern. But if someone tells you something genuinely novel that sits right at the edge of your understanding, your brain lights up. It leans in. It starts firing in anticipation, and the coupling between speaker and listener becomes incredibly strong. This is why the best conversationalists are people who can deliver ideas that are surprising but still accessible. Here is another layer to this that most people miss entirely. Neural coupling does not require words at all. Studies have shown that brain synchronization occurs through eye contact, through shared silence, through body language, and even through breathing patterns. Two people sitting in comfortable silence can actually maintain neural coupling because their brains are still processing a shared experience. This is why you can feel close to someone without saying anything, and why some of the deepest relationships involve long stretches of wordless companionship. This also explains a phenomenon that introverts especially will recognize. Sometimes after a conversation with a new person, you feel completely drained, even if the conversation was perfectly pleasant. That exhaustion is the metabolic cost of your brain trying to couple with a mismatched signal. It is working overtime to find synchronization and failing repeatedly. The energy expenditure is enormous. Contrast that with talking to someone you are deeply coupled with, where hours can pass and you feel more energized at the end than when you started. The difference is neural efficiency. When coupling is strong, the brain processes information with less effort. When coupling is weak, every exchange is a struggle. So what do we do with all of this information? First, stop blaming yourself for feeling disconnected in conversations. If you have ever wondered why small talk feels physically painful, or why you can be surrounded by people and still feel alone, the science suggests it is not a character flaw. It is a coupling mismatch. Your brain is looking for a signal that is not there. Second, actively seek out people and environments where coupling happens naturally. This might mean joining communities centered around ideas rather than social obligation. It might mean prioritizing one deep conversation a week over 20 surface-level exchanges. Quality of neural coupling matters infinitely more than quantity of social interactions. Third, become the kind of person who creates coupling for others. Learn to match communication depth to your audience. Learn to ask questions that open mental models instead of closing them. Learn to be present, truly present, because presence is the foundation of synchronization. When your brain is distracted or planning what to say next, coupling collapses. It requires full attentional commitment from both sides. And finally, understand that neural coupling is perhaps the most ancient form of human connection. Long before language existed, our ancestors were synchronizing brain states through shared experiences, shared dangers, shared silence around a fire. The reason deep conversation feels almost sacred is because it activates the same neural machinery that has been bonding humans together for hundreds of thousands of years. When you find someone whose brain synchronizes with yours, you're not just having a good chat. You are participating in one of the oldest and most fundamental human experiences there is. The smartest people on the planet are not necessarily those who know the most. They are the ones who can create the conditions for neural coupling to flourish, who can synchronize with another mind so deeply that the boundary between self and other momentarily dissolves. And that, more than any IQ score or academic credential, is what real intelligence looks like in conversation. Now the question is, who in your life has your brain been trying to synchronize with? And what would happen if you let it? If you got value from this video, like it and subscribe to our channel.